So a thing that keeps me up at night is the case of Casey Anthony. Casey Anthony was a mom who lived in Orlando, Florida with her 10-year-old daughter. On July 15, 2008, Casey's mom called the cops because she said that her granddaughter had been missing for like 30 days.
For 30 days?
Okay, and that, yeah. So the cops interviewed her. She said that she was with her babysitter named Zanny Gonzalez. She said that they both worked together at Universal Studios and that she would take the cops there to meet the person, and it came out that she was lying. She never even had a job there. They ended up going through the back of her car and it smelled awful. They ended up finding her remains in a wooded area not too far from the house. This is where the story gets messed up. It was like 2 years later. Casey Anthony was in court. It seemed to be a slam dunk. They found the little girl's DNA in the trunk of the mom's car. She was found not guilty of the murder of her daughter.
Let's take a look at this photo. This was pulled from the evidence archives of the Michigan State Homicide Unit. It is the only known photo we have of who was known as the Skinner. So in the early 70s, in a rural part of Michigan, something very strange was going on. It started out as just a very high number of women who were going missing in this county, but it would soon turn very dark. It was like for every one of these women that went missing, there was always an article of clothing found, as well as a severed foot. So after all of these months of investigating and questioning people, they eventually stumble upon this abandoned home in the county, and they would obtain a warrant to search it. Inside were all of the bodies of the women, every single one of them, and they had all been skinned alive. This place was littered with all of these Polaroids that this man had taken of everything he had done to these women, but he only took one photo of himself. This picture, as he's never been caught, and this is all we know of the Skinner.
This is the most dangerous prisoner in the world, and you'll never believe why. A little girl named Shiloh was on her phone at night when she got a call from a mysterious number. And on that night, she didn't pick up the phone because her parents weren't home, and she didn't want to talk to any strangers. Thinking it might be one of her friends from school or her teacher, she picked up the phone. And when she picked up the phone, she heard a little girl's voice. The little girl told Shiloh to come to the park at night alone, and told her that she would play with her. Not knowing better, Shiloh decided to leave her house and walk to the park. The time was now 1 a.m. as Shiloh slowly started walking at night to the park. No one was around except her, and it was eerily quiet. Shiloh quickly realized that there was no one around her, so she freaked out and called the number back again. But this time, no one picked up. She was so scared she just wanted to see someone, so she decided to run to the park to see her friend that called. And that's when Shiloh's heart started beating really fast, because she heard a small car parked up behind her. And what happens next will absolutely shock you. If you want to know what happens, like and follow for part 2.
This clown suit belonged to serial killer John Wayne Gacy. He would dress up as Pogo the Clown and perform for children at children's hospitals and other charitable events. It's eerie seeing these costumes in person. John Wayne Gacy murdered an estimated 33 boys and men, but his true victim count is still unknown. All of these items that I'm showing on screen belonged to John Wayne Gacy at one point, either inside or outside of prison, and it's absolutely eerie to be standing right in front of the killer clown himself. We're actually covering this story on our podcast Murder in America soon, and it's wild.
They put Elvis on some insane diets to help combat with all the weight gain and health problems he was having. One was called the Sleeping Beauty diet. It's where you don't eat and you don't drink. You take pills that make you sleep for hours, so then you're not awake and hungry and need to eat. And once he had his doctor put him in a medically induced coma, so he would not be able to eat anything. And for some reason, this bitch complied. I know it was a different world back then, but like, oh my gosh. Throughout 1975, he refused to bathe. So man just like sat around, ate, and would not take a bath, and was gaining a ton of weight because of all of this. And this gave him a lot of sores on his body because he wouldn't bathe. Like, people need to bathe. The non-stop touring and the toll of his mother's death really took a decline on his mental and physical health. And obviously, he was feeling bad about himself. Like, his face looks very different from when he looked like this heartthrob. And just being in the public eye in general is so stressful. His belly was bloated, he weighed so much, but his body didn't want to expand. It was something with his abdomen. I'm no doctor, and to be honest, everything I was reading I did not understand. But for some reason, his abdomen did not want to make his stomach bigger, and his belly was so bloated. I mean, he struggled with a lot of constipation, and this ultimately led to his death. The next part of this video is in the playlist. Follow my TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube for more content.
Sylvia Brown predicted the COVID-19 pandemic in 2003.
Really?
So let me read you this excerpt from her book. In around 2020, a severe pneumonia-like illness will spread throughout the globe, attacking the lungs and the bronchial tubes and resisting all known treatments. Almost more baffling than the illness itself will be the fact that it will suddenly vanish as quickly as it appeared, attack again 10 years later, and then disappear completely. Let's break this down piece by piece. Right?
Sorry, I'm down for it.
Okay. She says, in around the year 2020, when was the first case of COVID discovered? The first case in America was I think it was in March of 2020.
Yeah.
But the first case in China, where it started, was in 2019. So her saying around 2020 is like almost a spot on prediction. So then she says it was.
Imagine going to Disney World only to be followed by someone the entire time and not even know it. 17-year-old Madison Gaston received a notification on her phone that an Apple AirTag was following her the entire day. If you guys don't know what an Apple AirTag is, it's basically a mini tracking device used to find your personal items in case you lose them, such as your keys. So Madison received this creepy notification, and it stated that the AirTag was detected with her at 7:09 p.m., but she only received the notification at 11:33 p.m. When Madison clicked on the notification, a map appeared outlining every single place that she went to in the last 4 hours. So basically someone knew every move she was making. By the way, Madison was with her family, and when they saw this, they all panicked and emptied their bags and belongings in the parking lot, but they were still unable to find the AirTag. There's been a number of growing cases where women have reported AirTags following them, and this usually happens in places like Disney World or where kids or teens usually go. And unfortunately, a lot of criminals and predators are using AirTags to stalk people, steal cars, and even kidnap children. And just so you guys know, there are settings on your phone that allows you to get notifications if an AirTag is detected on you, so you might want to check that just to be safe.
Just imagine capturing this on your Ring camera. It was 2018 and just outside of her condo in Phoenix, Arizona, when Jessica Catania got an alert on her phone and saw this. According to her eventual statement, she immediately realizes she's in danger. She locks her bedroom door, she starts dialing 911, but that's when she heard it. So whoever this man was, he then pries open the living room window and pops out the screen. He's in the house. But this woman, Jessica, she's like incredibly resourceful in a stressful situation. She immediately grabbed a hammer, any weapon that she could find from her closet, and she hides in her bathroom. But while she's waiting in there, she's got the door locked, but it would only be about 3 minutes before she eventually hears police inside her condo. But the problem is, they never found the man. To this day, she has no idea who this man was or why he broke into her condo. In the investigation, police would eventually nickname him Smiles.
Barbie has a much creepier history than I thought. I'm gonna show you some theories about Barbie that have been keeping me up at night, and I cover all sorts of creepy and true crime stuff, so follow along. In 2010, Barbie released a doll that had a camera on her necklace as well as a video screen on her back. This doll has since been discontinued, but there's a lot of rumors about what happened to this footage when it was recorded. So people have always theorized that the footage was collected and sold either by Mattel or by someone more nefarious. And it's been mentioned how easy it would have been for hackers to collect and sell all this data. The FBI even put out a statement about it. Barbie also released and discontinued the Hello doll, which could listen to children and respond with over 8,000 pre-recorded answers. A lot of parents worried that these dolls were potentially recording their children and then selling that data, but this doll also has really concerning reviews. Like, people say that the doll won't take no for an answer. Like, if she asked if you wanted to hear a story and then you said no, she would actually push back and then just tell you the story anyways. And the doll would also ask really specific and targeted questions about children, like how big their families were and if they had any siblings. Was this doll just collecting market data on children, or was it something much weirder?
Creepy facts you didn't know about death. Studies have shown that a fear of death decreases as you get older. If you were to commit suicide by jumping from the top of Mount Everest, it would take 2.5 minutes for you to reach the bottom. Alaska has the highest suicide rate of any state in the country.
So y'all remember back in 2009 when this young woman got her face tattooed with 56 stars and tried to cover it up by telling one of the most outrageous lies I have ever heard. Welcome back, True Crimers. That was a mouthful. This is the case of Kimberly Valmanak. Viewer discretion is advised. So, like I said, back in 2009, Kimberly came up with this very brilliant idea of getting 56 star tattoos on her face. No biggie, no problem. So she went ahead, went to a tattoo artist that she secured, and got her 56 star tattoos. Now, after she was done getting the tattoos, she panicked. She saw what it looked like, she wasn't expecting it, and some people even started calling her, quote, a freak. She was like, wow, I have to do something, I don't know what to do. Let me just do the normal thing, make up a lie my way out of this one. So Kimberly proceeded to go to several news outlets and say that she had, quote, fallen asleep while getting tattooed. And the tattoo artist basically took advantage of her by tattooing on more stars than she agreed to in the first place. And he simply did it because she was sleeping. My initial thought there was, who falls asleep during a tattoo? I myself have a tattoo. I mean, it's not like so painful, but it's definitely painful and you can definitely feel it. I don't really see anybody falling asleep during that, especially a tattoo on the face. I don't know. But in any event, that was the story she decided to run with, and she even tried to sue the tattoo artist and tattoo parlor, claiming that this was all their fault and that she didn't consent. Now, initially, people believed her. They were actually kind of supportive of her, but eventually she would come out and say she was flat lying. And the reason she lied is because she didn't want to look like a freak. She was worried people were going to judge her, say she was crazy, and just didn't want to associate with her. So she tried to lie her way out of it, but that ended up backfiring. Now, after all the hustle and bustle died down from that, Kimberly began some very painful and very expensive laser treatments. It took her over 3 years and 9 laser treatments, and she was able to go back to basically normal. Here's a picture of the before with all the tattoos, and a picture of after, and she's looking pretty great. She's looking just like how she looked before she got the tattoos.
The true story behind the movie The Orphan. It's about a girl named Natalia Barnett.
Natalia Barnett was actually an orphan who suffered from dwarfism, and she was first adopted by a New Hampshire family in 2008. Unfortunately, the family didn't work out and she was put back into the system again. So that was her first family, so keep that in mind. About 2 years later, she was adopted by the Barnett family in 2010. Florida agency ended up contacting them. They ended up giving a phone call and be like, hey, I have, a child named Natalia. She's from Ukraine. I have her up for adoption. You guys have over 24 hours to decide if you guys want to adopt her or not. They flew out to Florida. They went to go meet her in a small office, and instantly, as Natalia saw them, she ran up to them and referred to them as mommy and daddy right away.
Back in like the 1990s and early 2000s, Channel 5? Yeah. It was very popular in Mexico. It was like the Mexican Channel 5. They had a section where they did something called service to the community, and they would put a bunch of pictures of missing people, and they put a picture of Celine Delgado. And you've probably seen the picture before, and it turns out that it was a fake, like it was a hoax. She's not a missing person. Maybe she's a real person, but she's not missing. So people searched up in the records of missing people, and she was not on there. So they don't know why they put her on there, but it's weird because they put her normal picture, and after a while, her picture looked different. It was that picture, that exact picture on top of her face.
And that's happening on the news?
Yeah, they faked that. I don't know why they faked that. I think they were trying to scare people. But the weird thing is that picture is linked to something else. It's basically linked to Derek Todd Lee, also known as the Baton Rouge serial killer, was an American serial killer between 1992 and 2003. Let's say a cop asks you, you're a witness, and a cop asks you, what did the person look like? Can you describe the suspect? Then a guy comes in, he sketches it out, and that was the sketch of Derek Todd Lee.
That's how he looked?
That's how they described him, as how he looked.
This is the disappearance of Kevin McAllister. On December 22nd, 1990, the McAllister family of Chicago, Illinois packed themselves up for a vacation to Miami, Florida. A vacation that Father Peter McAllister was somehow able to afford as a day trader in Chicago? The suitcases were packed, the alarms were set, and the Pepsi was taken easy on, so that Cousin Fuller did not wet the bed. Go easy, little buddy. On December 23rd at 8:40 a.m., the McAllisters headed to the airport. What Mother Kate McAllister did not realize was that she would prove to be what the French call les incompetents. They left their son Kevin at home, alone. When the plane landed, Kate phoned police, and a welfare check was conducted at the home. But it was reported to the family that Kevin was missing. That's when Kate McAllister left her family in Miami and headed back to Chicago to locate her son. Little did she know she'd never make it, and she was last seen at an airport in Scranton, PA. Kate was last seen with this mysterious group of men, all carrying tubas. She was never seen again. The only clues left behind were this bucket of paint, a broken picture of Buzz's girlfriend, Wolf, and traces of flesh on the floor, supposedly belonging to a bald head. So what do you think happened to Kevin McAllister? Was it the Wet Bandits, who were charged with criminal robbery and aggravated water damage on the same night of his disappearance? Do you think it could have been a local pizza delivery driver who got stiffed by Kevin and sought revenge on the little brat? Keep the change, you filthy animal. What about the spooky neighbor who had an estranged relationship with his son? Were we supposed to care about this plot point? What happened to Mrs. McAllister? And who are these large men? Is she in the tuba? Or is it something else?
I have a dream, a song to sing, to help me cope with anything. If you see the wonders of a fairy tale, you can take the future, even if you fail. I believe in angels, something good in